IntegratePro Viral. In this video, we're going to talk about how to reward others for promoting to your email list. Now this can be run as a reward and or a competition. We're going to use ActiveCampaign plus ConvertBox plus IP Viral. Now the reward is a URL. I know that sounds simple. What that means is whatever you want to do with that URL is up to you. It can be a download link, it could be a way to schedule a call with you, it could be instructions on how to collect their reward, anything. It's up to you. This works with one campaign and one ActiveCampaign account at a time. It's also set up to prevent abuse. So there's a real-time email verification against a known list of bad domains. You can specify domains and domain extensions that you don't want registered so that they don't give credit to the promoter. And you can prevent self-referrals, that's built in. Also, it requires click confirmation before the promoter gets credit. So it's built to make sure you're getting quality people on the list that are interested in what you have. And we're gonna go through these steps. We're basically gonna download the script, tell you what the requirements are, do the install, set up ActiveCampaign, set up ConvertBox, set up IP Viral, and then go live. So let's dive right in. First thing to do is actually to download the script. And if you've ever installed WordPress manually, this is effectively the same thing. So I'm simply going to click here. Let's go into the requirements. You need a ConvertBox account. You need an ActiveCampaign account. The light plan will work. And you need a website. WordPress is not used, nor is it required. And also, this will likely not work with WordPress type hosting. Example, WP Engine, I think WPX. And the reason is they don't usually like to let you install other things besides WordPress. Now that we've downloaded the zip file, we can upload it to our web server, unzip it, create a database, run the install script, add ourselves as a user, and then remove the install script. Now that I'm logged into my website, I want to go into the file manager. I'm logged into a cPanel account. So I'm going to go into here. I want to go into public HTML. And now I want to upload the zip file. I'm going to click highlight the file and I'm going to extract. That's created in a folder called IP Viral. Now I need to go back and create a MySQL database. If I go here to MySQL databases, I'm going to create one. I'm going to call it IP Viral. Doesn't matter what you call it. And now the next thing I need to do is I need to assign a user that in this case, I've already created the user. So I'm going to go ahead and add the user that I've created to the database I just created. Click on add. I want to tick all privileges and then make changes. Next thing I want to do is actually want to run the install script. So I want to go to, and then the first thing it does is it checks to make sure your server is going to work. If it does, click on continue. This is saying you need to know your database information, and if for some reason it doesn't work, you'll want to create a file called db-credentials.php and fill in the information. But for here, we can do this. And I want to click on submit. Assuming it's successful, you'll be redirected to the last page, which is basically provide an email and password so you can log in. And then go ahead and log in. And then of course you want to remove the install script. So back into here, I'm going to simply delete this. And there we go. Okay. So now we're going to move on to ActiveCampaign. This is probably the most complex part of it. The first three are really easy. We want to get our API credentials, create some tags, create some custom fields, and then import a number of automations and configure them. So let's start by getting our API credentials. We want to go to Settings, Developer. Then you want to copy the API access URL, and you want to copy the key and save that somewhere, either in a text file or just somewhere so you have it readily available. Next step is we want to do the tags. So we want to click on Contacts, Manage Tags, and then create these tags. So I'm simply going to copy them. Contact, Manage Tag, paste them in here, click on Add Tag. Now you're going to need to use these specific ones. You can't rename them. Okay, a number of custom fields. There's 3 of them. I want to point out this last one in particular is very important, and actually they all are. But notice it's all lowercase, and there is an underscore between the different words. That is important for this to work properly. So I'm going to go to Lists, Manage Fields, Add Field. And I could add a group, but in this case I'm not going to. I'm simply going to paste this in. It's going to be in the General Details group, and it's a text input. So there's one. Second one is this, and this is also a text input. And then finally the third one, which is going to be a hidden field. And that takes care of our custom fields. Now, the next thing we want to do is there's a number of automations that we're going to import. And it's important that you do these in order because then you don't have to backtrack and fix an automation that depended on another one. So my recommendation and request is do this in order. So to start with, we'll start with account automation. And they're pretty much all the same in terms of installing. Each of them though have some configuration that's a little bit different. So you want to go to automations, create an automation, and import an automation. Now you're going to be prompted to go through the automation setup wizard. You'll need to do that. So click on Get Started. And for this one, we want to select the field IP viral count. We want from to be any value and to be any value. Click on Next. And then you want to select a field. And it's going to be IP viral count. And it should be greater than 0. And then finally, make sure the credentials are correct, the from and the email and from email. And that's it for the first one. So we also need to come back here and we want to make a slight change. We want this to run every time. Click on Save Start. Now we want to edit this email. Now it looks like I've got this subject. You're probably going to want to change this. I'm going to click on Edit. This is the email that goes out on a daily basis, not more than once per day, less if they don't have any referrals, that says, hey, here's how many people you've referred. So you can configure this however you want. This is just a template I'm using right here, but this is the IP viral count that you can show them how many people they've referred. You also have the ability to give them the way to opt out of receiving daily updates. Instead, they will get their award email, but no longer get. So what you want to do is have this link, and it really doesn't matter where it goes. I think it goes to example.com. You want to add an action, add a tag, and then you want to use the IP viral do not notify tag. Click on OK. This gives people the option to opt out. This is for your promoters, so they don't get an email that tells them how many referrals they have total to date. And then last but not least, you want to make this active. So just for, even if I don't say that going forward, all the automations we work on need to be made active. All right, so let's go back to automations. We want to go install the next one, and it's going to be the reset automation. I'm going to go through this automation setup wizard, and we want to select this field and set it to 0. So in other words, if you're going to rerun or have another campaign go, you want to reset everybody's score back to 0. Make the campaign or the automation active and go back to automations. Okay, the next automation to install is the IP viral promote basic. So copy the link back to ActiveCampaign. Verify that you've got the right emails, email address, name, credentials, all that good stuff. And then select an automation to enter. And this is why we previously set this one up, because I don't want to have to go back and forth. So I already set up the reset automation. I'm going to go ahead and click on apply, done. Now, I do want to edit this email right here. And again, make it look like your emails, style it the way you want. There's a couple things, or maybe just one thing in there that needs to be in there. So this is an email that goes out to your promoters after they've expressed interest. So hopefully you're doing that by, for instance, tagging them. And then also send them, this is the link that they will use. So it's important that you have the % or the question mark, this whole thing, except you of course have to replace example.com with yours. And notice I've highlighted it. If I go here, it's also there. So you have to make sure it's in here and in the, doesn't have to be in the text. You can hyperlink a word, but it has to have this link structure, IP virals, question mark IPR equals % contact ID %. This is what link that your promoters are going to use to get other people interested in your service. Click on finish, and of course, make it active. Now we want to set up the reward automation. So copy the URL from here, back to ActiveCampaign automations. Go ahead and click on Get Started for the automation startup setup wizard. And then we want to set another automation that we're going to end. This would be the IP viral count. And again, that's why we did that one already and we're doing it in this order. Click on Next. Confirm that your mailing credentials are correct. Click on Done. Now we want to edit this email right here. And this is the reward email that goes out to your promoters. This is optional, but it's kind of nice to let them know how many people they've referred, but this is the important part. So this right here needs to be exactly like that. And then you should make sure, and it should be, it's hyperlinking itself. That's the important part. So when somebody, the promoter, clicks on that, they get sent to the award URL that you've set up. And then make it active. Okay, now we want to set up the webhook URL. So copy the URL right there. Go back to ActiveCampaign automations. Okay, so now we want to find the IP underscore viral. I thought I just saw it. There it is. From any value to any value. And we are going to come back to this one after it's set up. And then again, the same field, that IP underscore viral ID. Is greater than 0. Now we want to come back here to the trigger and edit this and make sure it runs every time. Click on Save Start, and then we want to edit this. This is important. This has to be your domain. So make sure the appropriate changes. I'm going to put HTTPS. I know it's in the IP viral and it has to be the webhook.php. Click on Save. Set the automation to active. And you should have 5 automations that you've just added and they're all active. So that's it for ActiveCampaign. Next up is ConvertBox. So I'm going to log into ConvertBox. So I've already got one set up, but I'm going to show you the important parts here. Form actions, as long as it's connected to ActiveCampaign, I don't care what you do. You can do whatever you want up here, it doesn't matter. But you want to just make sure you're connected to your ActiveCampaign account. In this case, all I'm doing is adding them to a list. Form fields, this is the important part. So you want to collect at least email. We want to add a new hidden field, and it's going to be hidden text field. Right there. Pre-fill, and this is going to be IPR. Has to be like that. IP viral ID here and the field name identifier. Tick the pre-fill field from a custom URL parameter and put in IPR and then add field. And then you're done. And then whatever else, however you want it to display, whatever needs to happen. So I'm going to click on Next. This is already active, so we're good to go. And then we want to go into IP viral and make some setups there. So we're going to need to add our ActiveCampaign API URL and key. And notice there's only 3 things up here: home, account, and logout. So we're going into account. I'm going to add my ActiveCampaign API URL, then also the key. And if for some reason you've got it incorrect, it won't work. It won't let you go to the next step. So that did work. So I'm just going to click on home. Notice now that there's a campaign link. So I can set it up. You can call it whatever you want. Test. Where is the sign up URL? Where is that ConvertBox located that people can refer them to? So I'm going to have it on my home page. And I would encourage you to have it only on one page because you don't want people to be able to go to multiple pages, or you might, but I would suggest starting with one page. Now, importantly, you want to have a fallback URL. In other words, if the campaign is over, but people for whatever reason are still sending referrals or that link's out there, where do you want to send them? Again, my recommendation is to send it to a page that has a different ConvertBox on it, unless you want to continue giving credit. It's up to you, however you want. So I'm going to say, and then what is the reward URL? This is where you're going to send your promoters to once they've met the threshold for a number of signups. And then how many signups do they have to have before they get their reward? Let's say 10. Now, Down here, you can exclude domains that you might not want to have sign up. There are some fake email sites that allow them to have temporary 10-minute email addresses. Those typically get blocked, or you can call them out here. Also, the extensions that you want to exclude. And then, is this active or inactive? If it's active, this is where people are going to be sent to. If it's inactive, they're going to be sent to here. So I'm going to click on active right now, click on submit, and it's ready to go. That's it. Now, here's how you can run a competition. What you do is you basically turn this off at a certain time. All you do is you make this inactive. Of course, you need to tell your promoters that you're running it for a certain amount of time. What's the start date? What's the stop date? And you're going to have to manually come in, start it by making it active, stop it by making it inactive. And then what you can do is go into your ActiveCampaign account, find all the people that have referrals, and then download it, put it into a spreadsheet, and then take a look to figure out who's the winner there. And now it's time to go live. So what you want to do, and I'm going to not show this, I'm going to tell it. You're going to click a link in the email that applies to this. So you want to send yourself an an email that has a link that when clicked applies this tag, because that tag will trigger the appropriate automation. Now, we're not using this right now. There's an advanced version of the sign up, but we're not doing that. We want to make sure that when you sign up, you have the IP viral promote tag, and you do not have the IP viral do not notify tag in your ActiveCampaign account. Now, you're going to get sent the email, and it's going to say, thank you for confirming your interest. Please use this link to recommend that. So for instance, I'm going to copy that link and I'm going to send it to myself to a different email address. That's important. It can't be the same domain. It can't be like Dave at gmail.com is how I signed up, and then I do Dave plus something at Gmail. That's not going to work. It could be Dave at Gmail, sending an email to Dave at Yahoo. So that's why I say number 6, sign up using a different email test. And then what you want to do is verify that the original email you signed up with, in other words, the first one, the promoter, has the IP viral count custom field set to 1. In other words, you made a recommendation, and that the IP viral ID is the same as your ActiveCampaign account ID. Now, one little thing about this count field, it's not going to get incremented until the person you referred clicks a link. That's to prevent spamming, abuse, all that stuff. So people don't get credit until the person you referred actually clicks a link. So it's kind of a double opt-in. And then when you're ready to go live, send out to your people and apply this tag to a link that gets clicked. And then if you ever want to run another campaign, make the current one inactive, and then send all your promoters through this automation, which is basically will clean up all their tags and reset their score back to 0. So that's IntegratePro Viral.